Hey guys, so this is Debarshi today, and this is my third vlog, I want to say. I don't know. It is Wednesday at 6:46 p.m. Gosh, I'm tired. Last week, I finished most of my midterm exams. Tomorrow, I have my final midterm exam on literary analysis, a class I don't even really have to take. I decided to, however, because I'm one of those guys who loves a broad education despite I'm a computer science major. Uh, Although I will admit literary analysis is becoming a bit of a burden on my curriculum, but I like it still. I like the content and whatnot, and I value the skills that are necessary in literature. With all that said, I will proceed to today's topic for this vlog. So, what is computer science? This is a question I have asked myself since I was a young kid. I started programming at a very early age, about when I was 11 or 12. And I also would look at videos at the time and try to learn more about computer programming in C++ first and then in Java and whatnot. And I kind of dabbled a little bit in C Sharp. I looked into Python too. Um, and at the time, I had this misconception that I think many people in this world have, and that is that programming is computer science. This misconception followed me very much well into high school, and to be honest, it wasn't until college that I realized that's not necessarily the case. So, what I am saying is that a good programmer is not necessarily a computer scientist, but a computer scientist is a good programmer. So, what do I mean by that exactly? Computer science is a booming field, there's no doubt. But more than anything, it is a science. And I think people often forget about that. When you pursue a degree in computer science, a Bachelor of Science, a Master of Science, or a Bachelor of Arts even, it's going to have a lot of math in it. I will bet you this. It will have a lot of math in it. You see, we think of computer science as Android application development, or Python, or C++, Java, and people consider that computer science. But being able to program is not necessarily computer science. Computer science is basically the mathematics behind computation. In other words, it is the science behind computation. So, I mentioned that programmers are not necessarily computer scientists, but computer scientists, 9 times out of 10, are really good programmers. Why is that? Well, computer science, in order to become a computer scientist, you need to have a great grasp on logic. Logic is heavily centered on math, and you need to have a good foundation of the concepts of math. To be honest, you need to have a good foundation of math in general, but you need to have a good foundation of math concepts that deal with logic. And in college curriculum, I think that they have an entire course called Discrete Mathematics. I'm actually taking that course right now. Um, and there are mathematics courses outside that you could take as electives outside your curriculum, and that depends on what your interests are. You can also pursue other courses in artificial intelligence and big data and whatnot. I believe those will have quite a bit of math in it. I am not sure. AI for sure, I am 99% sure, will have a lot of math in it. There is no doubt. I've heard rumors of it having calculus. Even though I'm interested in AI and I'm interested in human computer interaction, I am not 100% sure about the depth of math that is necessary to pursue those fields. But I'm just aware that those fields contain a lot of math in it. But really, what makes computer scientists great programmers is that they're really good with logic. They're good at the mathematics behind computation, and as such, they are good at the mathematics behind programming. These computer scientists are basically, think of computer scientists as basically the people who make the tools that programmers use. So the compilers that were created, the operating system that was developed that you're using right now, that I'm using right now, which I'm using Mac OS, all of this required math to work, a lot of logic, a lot of math that traditional programmers typically don't delve into. Computer scientists know this math, know how to calculate certain things, and they're really good with managing data. And computer scientists use this ability to their advantage to create products such as operating systems, compilers, and other pieces of software or firmware and whatnot. Computer scientists are also big on being efficient. If you truly are a computer scientist, you will want to make your programs more and more efficient. And you might wonder, what's the purpose of efficiency at this day of age? I mean, we have gigahertz of clock speed in our processors. We have gigabytes of RAM. And if you look hard enough, you might even find terabytes of RAM somewhere, maybe with a server or whatnot. And we have so many new fast technologies, so much storage space and whatnot. So why are we putting so much efficiency into our programs? What's the necessity for it? And this is actually a typical flaw that many programmers will make, in that they will not create the most efficient piece of software. Their major goal is business. Their major goal is just create an application to get the task done. They don't care if it takes a few seconds longer. But computer scientists, they're really like the old-time hackers, as people call it. They want to take advantage of every single part of the computer. They want to take advantage of every single piece of hardware that they're using, and they want to squeeze all the power out of it, and they want to optimize the code that they make and make it as efficient, as quick, and as lenient on memory as possible. Traditional programmers don't really care much about this. Traditional programmers are given a software project, and they will simply code that project using a certain language, maybe C++, maybe Java, maybe Python, and whatnot, and they know how to code. And don't get me wrong, I am not suggesting that by any way that programmers are not necessary, that they are any less than computer scientists. Of course not. I do not believe that. I think without programmers, the computer industry, would not exist. I am just suggesting that there is a distinction between being a programmer and being a computer scientist. None of them are more or less, even though computer scientists are typically held to a higher standard. I think that programmers are not any less than computer scientists. We need people who are knowledgeable of the code, that specialize in coding and specialize in implementing tasks. So while computer scientists create the tools, basically, and create the algorithms behind the tools that programmers use, computer programmers use those tools to implement solutions to problems. Both of these two professions, computer scientist and programmer, require you to be a great problem solver. It's just in a different way. So whereas if you're a programmer, if you're an IT person, and if you don't like computer science, if you think it's way too much math, but you love computers, maybe you should pursue IT in a college, which has a lot less math, and it's very business oriented in most schools, although not necessarily all schools. IT has programming if you choose to take it, choose a path within programming, and you can also learn how to manage information systems. There is an entire program called Management Information Systems, and that's a whole different thing. I don't exactly know, but I think it has a lot to do with databases and whatnot. But that is totally different than being a computer scientist. Knowing how to code is important, but knowing why certain coding decisions are made and how the code works is the job of a computer scientist. I just wanted to debunk that popular theory that computer science is a lot about programming, that programming is computer science. No, programming isn't computer science. Computer science can involve programming, and typically in this 21st century, it does involve a ton of programming, even though once you get to the more theoretical levels of computer science, it's heavy on mathematics. I do support, when I say support, I mean morally, I mean emotionally, I support the idea that is pursued by Code.org and Code Academy and all these other organizations in teaching other children to code. I've done this in some of my YouTube videos. I like helping people code. And I sometimes refer to these tutorials as computer science tutorials, but to be honest, these are not necessarily computer science tutorials. These are programming tutorials. They can serve as a basis for computer science, but again, being a programmer, taking a programming course, does not make you a computer scientist. It makes you a programmer, but not necessarily a computer scientist. I just wish some of these organizations would kind of stop using the idea that they're teaching computer science when they're teaching programming, and maybe focus on bringing some of the higher level content for computer science to people who truly are passionate with computer science and want to learn the math behind all of the programming and the technology that we use. That is real computer science, the algorithms, the data structures, and the logic, So those are just my 2 cents on computer science and computer programming. I think that both of them go hand in hand. Personally, even if I didn't want to pursue an academic career in computer science, if I just wanted to be a programmer for a certain corporation or whatnot, I would still recommend getting a computer science background because, as it turns out, computer scientists are extremely good problem solvers. And IT people are also really good problem solvers, no doubt. But this is just coming from me. I might be a little biased, but I feel that the strong math background that computer science requires is good for people who don't mind math or love math or whatnot. And even if they want to simply be programmers for Google or something like that, computer science is a great degree to get because it helps you develop that problem solving mindset. I don't know much about IT. I'm sure it helps develop problem solving too. But for me, since I love math, computer science is the way to go. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much. This was a pretty long video, and good night.